Serving is a must. He's the Alpha, the first. This is DJ Nicholas on the show. When you hear the trumpet or the flute, know it's a battle. Time to put your vehicle in a drive. Get it to travel. Like Mary, you are going.
Welcome to the mailbox on Love 101 FM, your family station. Great to be back with you. Courtney has been keeping the fort, doing a fantastic job. So big up, but it's good to be here. This is Kevin Bailey and man from Martin Point to Nick Grill. It's great to be with you. Can you imagine that? The month of October, where October 5, 2022, it's National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's Lupus Awareness Month. It's Oral Health Month. Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So many areas of emphasis, and this is where we do it, where we challenge, encourage, and empower our men. Courtney, what do you
Hey,
say?
Kevin. What's up? Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's good to see you. It's good to have you back. And I'm sure that's agreed upon by all those listening and viewing. And so it's great to have you back with us.
Thanks, bro.
After 10 years, we spent 1 month apart. I can't believe it.
Oh,
Anyway, we
All
want to
right.
thank Fosrich Company Limited, your electrical, solar, and lighting people. We actually had Mr. Foster with us last week, who is the CEO of Fosrich, as our guest. Today, our special topic as we feature breast Cancer Awareness Month is we're talking to My Wife Had Cancer. That's the topic today. My wife had cancer, a husband story. And our guest is my good friend for over the years, Mr. Roger Stewart. He's an entrepreneur and husband to one wife of 31 years. He was actually married 1 week after I got married. His wife was diagnosed with breast cancer and now is 10 years free of cancer. Good to have you with us, Roger. We'll be jumping a little bit more into it as we get down to what's happening.
Courtney, can you imagine when you get married, we normally say for better or for worse, right? And we don't really expect worse, but there are challenging times, and it tests your commitment. And are you patient and kind and loving when there are difficulties and challenges? And one of these things can be what we're about to discuss. And we want men, women, as well as they're listening and hear the story to be encouraged by it. So, Courtney, how have things been? Yeah, how has it been with you?
Challenging, but I'm sure it took Moses 40 years to get out of the wilderness. I'm hoping it
Mm,
won't take me that long, but we learn from what's happening as we
yeah,
move along.
yeah,
Uh, I believe we have great times ahead. Let's see what will be happening. But indeed, it
yeah,
has been a time of growth. It has been a time of introspection. It has been a time for us to stop, especially in this nation of Jamaica, where we saw two youngsters dying in separate incidents. Unfortunate indeed, the Kingston Technical young lady and the Woolmerian young boy. But we need to be a society that is compassionate and not judgmental. We need to become empathetic and recognize that there are those who are mourning these loss, and we continue to say condolences to the families, to the father, to the mother of the young Woolmerian, and the same to the young Kingston Technical High School young lady. It has been a challenging season.
Indeed, it has been, and we continue to offer our prayers and condolences to the families who are left grieving on both sides, all around. We're in a time where, as you say, we really have to do things differently and being compassionate and to show the love that Jesus Christ demonstrated by going to the cross, not just to talk about it, but can we change our homes and change our communities and change our relationships in schools and across in our business places? As a Christian country, can we see that reflected in our driving and respect on the streets? We do challenge our men. 'Cause we must be the example. We must be the example. The things that we want to see, we must model those behaviors. I must say, Courtney, and I did get to visit Egypt.
Yeah.
Yes, it was fascinating, and no, I can't share a lot. But I did swim in the Red Sea and in the River Nile. I did
Awesome.
did look at the bulrushes where they said they
The
hid
Egyptians drowned.
Moses Moses. But fascinating, I
Wow.
saw what they call the cave church, where Joseph and Mary went when they were hiding from Herod with Jesus.
Mm.
And so they built a church over the place where they said they hid in Egypt. And it's called the cave church. Very fascinating. And one final thing, Egypt is 100 million persons, 90% are Muslims, and 80% Muslims, 19% Christians, and 1% Jews and others. And do you know how they were able to identify Christians? I was surprised to know. And as a Muslim guide showed me a Christian family, and when you look at the inside of their wrist, they had the mark of the cross. Every Christian from the youngest child upward. And he says that's how you identify Christians in this country. That's dominant with Muslims. They had the cross on the inner side of their hand. And I just thought that very fascinating. We bear the marks of Jesus Christ as we witness. But it's so good.
Hope you come
Looking
back
for,
with pictures.
eh?
Cause your
Yes,
film can't run out on your digital camera. So
of course, of course.
and I hope you had space so as
Uh,
to share.
yep,
I,
yep,
I
yep.
want to visit Egypt someday. I'm sure I will before I die. It's on the
Yes,
bucket list, if that's what we call it.
and of
It's on
course,
that
of
list
course.
of dreams that I hope
Yeah.
to have happen before time has passed.
I believe you will. And I did ride a camel for almost 2 hours and look at the Great
Yes.
Pyramids. No, that's fantastic. A little frightening, but after a while you get comfortable in the saddle as well.
I'm
So
not
listen,
envious. I'm only jealous.
listeners, you can watch the program live on social media. That's Facebook and YouTube at Love 101 FM Jamaica. Man, oh man, remember, you can give us a call. Please give us a call today, this evening, 876-968-8327. That's 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328. Very, very important that we hear your comment. Ladies, comment via Facebook, YouTube, or via our WhatsApp line at 876-997-3125. Yes. So I have a feeling it's time to give a shout out, Courtney.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, we've been longing to hear a shout out from you, so we need yours today, especially.
No, it's good to be able. So it's after three. One, two, three. Monday.
Mano! You should be able to say that in Egyptian.
Yes. What's it? In Salam Alaikum, which is just a greetings, right? So big up. Yeah, so man in the place, and it is good to be back in the place. We're gonna be talking about my wife had breast cancer challenges, and at the same time, how do we get through this? What is the story? What are the lessons to be learned? And does it challenge your love for each other? And we are attracted physically, but is there something deeper when you face some challenges like this one? We're gonna be having the conversation. Courtney, what you say?
Yes, I understand. It is when the challenging times come, how do we fare out? But I like to remind persons sometimes it doesn't last days, it doesn't last months, it can last years. The question is, are you able to overcome?
Mhm.
Um, it's tough times. But at this time, we're
Yes.
going to enter a section we call the draft. That is the direct response for the featured theme as we speak to Mr. Roger Stewart. And we want to continue to acknowledge Fosrich Company Limited, who has made this program possible. Your electrical, solar, and lighting people, we will have a show today that will inspire, I'm sure.
So I've been reflecting on what can we do differently as men. We speak about the challenges that we face, and yet we are the ones who have behaved our way into these challenges. That means we can behave our way out of them. It is God who has given us the power of will and the power of choice. So we are the ones that can solve these challenges, the problems that we're having. And God has given us amazing brain and will. And I wonder if it's just time that we start to think differently, that we really come together to come up with some solutions and to make some choices to change Jamaica land we love. We totally believe that change is possible. As the scripture says, all things are possible if we only believe. All things are possible. We believe that on the mailbox. And that is what we have been saying for the last 10 years. And we continue to encourage our men from Moran Point to Negril. We are the solution that we seek. It begins with us, all of us can play a part. Courtney, this is the message we want to continue to send to our brothers in this land.
You know, Pastor Sean Williams, we had the opportunity to share down in Galena most recently.
Mhm.
And he says, many of us see ourselves as problems, but God made us to be solutions. We are not problems, we are solutions. Today's topic, though, is my wife had cancer. And it's the husband story. Roger Stewart, entrepreneur and husband to one wife of 31 years. His wife was diagnosed with breast cancer and is now 10 years free of cancer. That's Michelle Ashwood Stewart. And so we introduce this section to you as we speak with Roger. Roger, are you there with us, Mr. Stewart? We'd like to get you involved in this discussion. There he is. How are you this evening, this afternoon, Roger? Good to have you with us. Delighted that you could have accepted the invitation to speak about this very sensitive issue and topic as we're in Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Are you hearing me?
Oh, yes, we are hearing you.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Well,
Hi, welcome, Roger. Welcome. Great to see you. Long
great to see.
time.
I have not seen you for 31 years.
Can you imagine?
Yeah,
No.
because I know
Wow.
it's not quite 31, but I have not. I remember us in younger days when we never had
Yes.
white hair on our faces and all of that. But
That
yeah,
is true.
you're in that famous duo, that group,
Uh,
and and
yeah.
and it's so
No.
nice seeing you, Kevin, because I remember at my wedding there was a dub piece called not for better or for worse, but for good. And
Uh,
when I saw you today, I remembered, and I just started smiling to myself.
oh my.
Oh,
No.
yes.
It is our honor and privilege and to have you here to look at this sensitive topic and to share with our listeners. It's so great to have you, Roger. Welcome again to the mailbox.
Yes, yes, it's my pleasure.
We want to know a little bit more about you. Our listeners and those viewing by YouTube and Facebook would like to get to know who is Roger Stewart. Tell us a bit about yourself, your family, your home, how many children. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm a Jamaican, born and grown born and bred, as they say in Spanish Town here in St. Catherine. Um, I've been a Christian for since I was 19 years old, and I'm a member of the United Church in Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. Also I'm a lay pastor in the United Church as well. Um, be- Been married to Michelle, as Courtney has articulated, for 31 years plus. And well, in terms of family, Michelle and myself, we had one son, one child, Nile. On well, I wouldn't say unfortunately, because nothing is unfortunate with God. Nile died approximately 4 years ago of cancer. So this whole thing is real and raw, you know. It's and it's something that, as you said, you have to deal with. So you can imagine, cancer is not a bad word, because it has it has shown its head in my family, with a number of persons. But when it comes on your doorsteps within your very house, it becomes something that you have to deal with. And it's not, as you said, it's one of the, maybe you should ask the questions, because so that you could direct the program, because there's so much that goes with it in terms of the whole, I want to stick to the topic or the heading for this evening, but there's so much that goes with it, because especially as men, we become fearful of that dreaded C letter word, but and it we do suffer silently, and when I got the invitation here, there's something that came to my mind, is that so many caregivers pass before the person that is being cared for. And it's testimony of the amount of stress that caregivers also go through.
Yeah,
So I'll let
of
you
course.
lead, ask the questions, and I'll answer them.
I
I'm not
can
afraid to
imagine.
answer them.
Oh no, Roger, you're doing extremely good already. Just by sharing that, my our condolences to you with your son. And what was that like for you when you first heard of what was happening, to him?
Well, it's a flood of emotions, because one of the things that you ask yourself is, the question I asked God was, God, is this the end of me? Because the truth is that family is important, and everyone wants to create a legacy, a bloodline. And the word of God tells us that the firstborn out of every womb is blessed. So, and then you say, so where is the continuation of my lineage? So it's something that I grappled with. It didn't happen at the time of up to his passing, but it's a question that has flooded my mind many times since. Because when I see so many of my peers with grandchildren, and I see grandchildren coming about, you say to yourself, you'll never understand, or you might not be able to experience that. That this is flesh of my flesh and bone of my bones. But thanks be to God, He has given us the ability to weather the storms, because they come, these different grief attacks, and you learn how to deal with them on a case by case basis.
We can understand the pain you're going through,
Mhm.
yet it is not our experience.
Mhm.
Roger, so Nile, I know, is one of those who was a miracle given to you by God. And I can understand where you're at. During these trials, these times of hardships and difficulty, yet through your marriage, one of the questions I want to ask, are there any lessons that you can tell us about? What three major lessons would you say you have acquired, learned, navigated during this time?
All right. I think the chief lesson that I've learned is that God has not forsaken me. It's serious. I always go back to Psalm 100, and Psalm 23 in particular, when it talks about, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow. Christianity never promised that I won't go through it, but he said that he will be there to comfort and support me. So, from a man's point of view, I want to say this to all the men out there, that the valleys are real, and shadows and fears are real. Um, the spirits of heaviness and the spirit of fear, they're real. And but the thing is that God has given us, he has not given us the spirit of fear, and he has given us the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness that comes with fear. So all in all, it has been, I think that has been what has kept me through all of this, that my God has not forsaken me. Uh,
Take us back a bit, you know.
mm,
I can see that let me first commend your bravery for coming on to talk about this openly. You know, we know it isn't necessarily easy. And for those who are listening, we're talking to Roger Stewart. We're talking about my wife had cancer as a topic. Roger is an entrepreneur and he's been a husband to one wife for 31 years. He lost his son Niall to a rare cancer as well. So it's a very real situation for him. But we want to also bring in the cancer that affected your wife. So take us back to the day when you first made the discovery, when your wife first made the discovery
Mm.
that there is either the possibility or there is the reality of this dreaded phenomenon called cancer that was occurring.
all right. Well, I remember it as if it was yesterday. I remember sitting in the doctor's office. That was the beauty of the situation, is that I was there when it was said by the doctor. And it really is like someone punched me in my stomach.
Mm.
I mean, and it's so hard because I did ask God a question there: why her and not me? Silently, I asked that question in my mind. But we, it was, it knocked the wind out of me. You couldn't say much. But I just remembered, I, I can smile now and laugh because I remember that we got the news at Medical Associates, and Michelle was at the time employed to the University of the West Indies. And I remember we drove to the university. It was early, mid-afternoon. And I mean, I don't know how we drove from Halfway Tree Road to the university, but when we reached the university, I know Michelle was literally uncontrollable in terms of she held it together, and I knew she was questioning God in a real way. Fortunately, when we reached the university, she had great support in terms of her, her, um, her supervisor then. I have to give a great shout out to to her. I can think I can call names on this program if it's permitted. I remember Dr. Bell she met us on the ring road, on
Mm-hmm.
the eastern side of the ring road. And I remember when she took Michelle to herself, and as a man, you feel like you shouldn't cry. But I
Mm.
remember I walked over into that memorial park, right, which is next door, near where they used to have the, um, I think it was the Chinese or the Confucius Center was there at that
Mm-hmm.
point. And I counted every tile in that memorial park. I
Wow.
just walked through the park counting the tiles because, well, I think it's the only thing that could have calmed me down. But it was, it was frightening. But at the end of the day, I remember the same question I asked God, I asked Michelle. And Michelle said, if it wasn't she, it would be somebody else. And
Wow.
that was for me a great sign of courage. But then it forced me now to begin to think, all right, how do we deal with this? God had been good because just a couple of years before, I had to go through a similar cancer experience with my dad, who was actually living with us at the time. And that was difficult. But then now it's my wife. So it became even realer, you know? We,
Mm-hmm.
just, we had a
Yeah.
young son. Nile was just about to leave doing GSAT, as a matter of fact, at the time. And
Mm-hmm.
it became, how do we shield him from all of this trauma? And so it was difficult. It was, and I'm not going to lie, it was difficult. And but through it all,
Did
you go ahead, ask the question.
Yeah, yes, Roger. No, I know. I mean, Michelle is just a fantastic woman, and very courageous. And both of you, being Christians, trusting God, never expected anything like this. Did it cause tension in the relationship, in the marriage, and how, how were you able to navigate that?
Well, the truth about it is that the tension continues. It's not something that just happen and stop. Because what happened, they while you go through the course of treatment, because I remember I laughed when we were deciding what method of treatment to use. And I remember Michelle asked me, she had breast cancer, and what was she to do? And I said, don't take off one, take off both breasts, because I'm not going through this again. And
Wow.
when you know that a breast defines women, that's
Yes.
part of their um, defining attributes. But for me, I've always told Michelle, and I still believe it even after all this time, because we have been friends from um, high school. I said to her that I'm really intrigued by her mind rather
Mm.
than her, because if anybody knows Michelle, she has a very beautiful mind,
Yes.
and that's what keeps me going.
Mm.
um yeah, it's always at work. And so in going through the treatment, I decided that you should do that, just remove both of them. But I got some comforting words from the doctor at the time, who the plastic surgeon said, we will take them off, but we will give you two better than what you had before. So,
we want to pause right there, Roger, as you give that as we're going to take a commercial break. We're going back to the studio. We're talking with Roger Stewart. The program is My Wife Had Cancer. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We'll be right back with you. The program is The Mailbox.
Good for your breakfast, lunch, or snack. Grab your national bag. Original, truly Jamaican. Best quality, 70 years strong. National, bill of the nation. National Baking Company. Baked with pride since 52.
Yes, that's right. With LED emergency bulbs from $500. Come get your chandeliers, wall lamps, ceiling fixtures, and so much more. From October 1 to 31, shop and enjoy great deals at Fosrich in Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay. Or visit www.fosrich.com/shop. What are you waiting for? Enjoy massive discounts only at Fosrich. Open Sundays.
Importers, the Jamaica Customs Agency is reforming its clearance process, making it easier for you to clear your non-commercial and small value items using our simplified declarations. You will be able to clear your goods without physically visiting the port or a warehouse for customs inspection, making your clearance experience even better. The pilot begins October 2022 across all marine public bonded warehouses. For further details, email Jamaica Customs at contactlessclearance@jca.gov.jm or telephone 876-922-51408. We're here to serve you. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
You know what, sweet? The new pack Sweet Living promotion. Win great prizes.
Bedroom set, living room set, kitchen appliance set, plus TVs and monthly cash prizes.
Send in 5 new pack labels. Labels must belong to at least the new pack corned beef, new pack Vienna sausages, and sauces categories.
Below the tagline, new pack, more than just value.
Place your entry in one of the drop boxes at participating outlets or enter by mail. Time to live sweet. Enter the new pack Sweet Living promotion. August 28th to November 19th. See the press for more details. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting Gaming Authority.
Oh, yay, yay.
Welcome back to the program, The Mailbox on Love 101, the family station. We're live on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you to our viewers and for those tuning in by ear for being and remain with us. We know you have other choices. Today we're speaking with Roger Stewart, husband of one wife for the past 31 years. He's also an entrepreneur, and he's here sharing his story. My wife had cancer. Roger, when we left off, you decided, both yourself and Michelle, that you would remove both breasts. I'm trying to remember, that's called a mastectomy, I believe. And the doctors decided that they will remove those two and give you two better. Continue from there. Let's hear your story.
No, but he did say that, and well, I will not reveal the truth about that situation. But there's some truth to that statement, a whole lot of truth. But
I hope Michelle is listening.
Well, the reality is that if we should deal with the whole matter of going through the treatment,
yes,
was difficult.
Yes, elaborate a bit more on that time period when you were going through the treatment. How did you manage?
Well, she went into, first of all, on the day of the surgery itself, it was a very long surgery, some 8 hours. But I was very, very frightened at the end of it all, because fortunately, they had allowed me to look at her in the recovery room. and I knew she was dying. I'm not asking
Wow.
anybody that. I'm telling everybody that, because Michelle is has a very low cold threshold, and she, when I looked at her, she had turned rather ashy in color, and I said, she's cold. She's losing body heat. And I remember dashing across the campus and getting a blanket from another reverend gentleman and telling the nurse she needs to be covered and tucked in because she's absolutely too cold. And yeah, and I stood there for a while and watched color return to her face. And
Wow.
yeah, so so you started getting into survival mode. I must protect, I must do what I have to do. And it was day one, the very hours after the surgery. But the reality after that is that I mean, even coming out of hospital, having to um, when she drive in the car, having just completed a mastectomy, even going at 5 miles on our non-Teflon roads in Jamaica,
Hmm.
it's too fast.
Wow.
It's absolutely painful, and I have to learn how to navigate these roads, how to slow down, how to crawl, to ensure that the with all of the sutures and the surgery, that nothing goes wrong. The the interesting thing is that when you reach home, and the period of recovery in terms of the days at home, you have to now monitor. I remember I used to monitor the fluid outflow from the mastectomy. You have to be measuring it and keeping log, and all of that, and it brought a level of it's not just intimacy, but it's care. It did. And during that period, you have to do that and manage the house at the same time, because Nile was there. He's looking on and wondering. But I guess he was at an age where mommy's talking to him. Yeah, she's all right. But and that was in and of itself good. So, but I kept myself busy, and but again, God had his hand in it, because I remember Michelle alluded to a day when she overcome by the spirit of fear. She said she literally felt that she was being dragged into an abyss. And I was always someone who worked late, and for some reason I came home early that evening, and she was just so grateful that I was home. you know God is good. But
Mm.
what I want to say though is that um having gone through and come out of it, what you realize is that she has changed and I have changed. And what
Mm.
ex and the pre-cancer portion of our marriage is most different from the post-cancer. um her diagnosis and treatment. And the reality about it is that she has changed, I have changed, and but what we try to maintain is a friendship. It is strained at times, because sometimes as males we're not the best communicators,
Mhm.
and sometimes we're victims of our own socialization, because you sort of, as a child, I grew up in a house where you're seen and not heard.
Mhm.
And my father was a police officer, very, 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 very disciplined in the home. So you find that the I was never a big communicator, so
Mhm.
I had to. Well, I'm still learning how to communicate. Still
Mhm.
have hurdles to cross with it, because what you used to say before now could work after a diagnosis of a terminal illness. The lovey-dovey thing um, still holds, but it has changed. It has changed. In terms of the whole mentality, some things you can't take for granted. Um, and as a man, you used to take a lot of things for granted, and sometimes when you do, you have to face the music in terms of the punishment because it will come. And and that's a fact. It is a fact. So take for instance. So let us. I'm not shy about talking. I hope Michelle don't think I'm revealing too much. But what I think most of us as Christian males, we really have difficulties in terms of how we express ourselves intimately, and it is a learning process, and it is difficult. It is difficult because you go to school every day and you have to take each day as a new one, as a new day. And I try to treat it as a new day, but sometimes, the past corrupts the present. And therefore it becomes, you're trying to renew your mind every day. And it's difficult. It's extremely difficult. So in terms of the intimacy factor, sometimes I love you is not enough because living becomes even realer, because it's as if you have very few days after you realize terminal illnesses are around, and you try to cherish each day. Sometimes you don't have to say anything just to be there, but
Yes.
sometimes being there is not enough.
Mm.
And we go ahead.
Roger. No, I really appreciate you just sharing in such deep ways, because it's not often that we get to hear this frankness and openness and transparency.
Yeah.
No, men listening, sometimes we're told not to ask God why. Sometimes we're also led to believe that if you really walk as a child of God, it's just goodness and mercy is gonna follow you all the days of your life. And a part of the abundant life, as it were, is that you don't have to face these things. Um, in hearing your story, what can men, boys do in preparation for something like this? What is it that you would say to men who are listening? Can we ever be prepared for something like this, Roger? What would you say?
I don't think you can be prepared for it. Um, I don't think so. What I think that men need to do is to bond with men. And that's why I think this
Mm,
program is so good. Because what happened, they know that you're going through it. And
mm-hmm,
in my own experience, you can count the number of men who have come around and sit down and have a conversation about it,
uh,
about my experience. So men tend to suffer alone, and
mm,
it is a reality. The women tend to have their groups, but I think men are afraid to talk about challenges like this, or men feel that man a man him can go through it. But the truth about it, a lot of men, husbands, are suffering silently
mm,
because they have no outlet and for their emotions, and sometimes you tend to feel you might be stigmatized if you cry, or if you openly say I'm hurting. And
mm-hmm,
so what, we suffer in silence. And I think that's why maybe why so many widows are around, because the men suffer and pass on before their wives.
Mm.
Yeah, but
Roger,
it's
a question there. Do you believe as well a part of that could be is that men are often told that if they start to express their emotions, they're behaving like women, um, or that
Mm.
they're effeminate, or sometimes you hear, go on like you're a real man, you know, if they cry, if they talk a lot, you hear a number of things. How has it helped
Mm.
you, or has it helped you to express those emotions, like even being on this program? Give us an insight so that men listening in, they want to know that there are outlets that they can use.
all right. The truth about it, is you ever hear the statement, um, be a friend before you need a friend? I'm not so sure it's
Mhm.
something like that, but something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, men need to have male friends that they can speak to, and friends who will, um, not just somebody you can talk to, but a friend that is a friend in every sense of the word. The reality is that men, there's a song by I think it's a duo, Barris and I don't remember the DJ that said, "Who said big man don't cry?"
Yes.
The reality is, real men cry, and I put a big full stop after that.
Mhm.
Real men have emotions. Real men suffer,
Mhm.
and the truth is that real men also die. But then real men live as well. Despite the challenges, you have to live. You have to live. And it's not just that you're living. The challenge that I have to face is, how do I live and enjoy living
Mm.
amidst my current dilemma? How do I live
Yeah.
and enjoy living? And so
Yeah.
it's a daily walk and a daily challenge. But
Roger, you have shared some very deep lessons and contemplation, things that challenging us, as we process. Would you say your worldview has changed post this devastating cancer, as it were? And what would those changes be that may help our men listening in as we live? Yeah, share anything like that, Roger.
well, the truth about it is that, the first thing I'm going to say to men, especially men who have their wives or even another family member, but more so your wife who has survived cancer or is going through it, is that you have to take care of you. I am learning in a very painful way that you cannot neglect you in the process, and that is, even if you look at the story of our Lord Jesus, when he was frayed at the ends, he took time to himself. That was his method. And we as men, we have to learn something, do something that allow us to repair. And sometimes that repair is just a little quiet time, a little quiet time away from the mad rush. So like take for instance, for me, I learned that on a Sunday, after I come home from church, I try to have a little me time where I take out my newspaper and just look through my newspaper. That is the one time that I set aside that time as best as I can to 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 read the newspaper and then to watch some Christian programs or some preaching on the various Christian channels. And it's just the way I that's my little weekly sabbatical. But there are some other things that I remember. Just men, don't be afraid to get counseling. It's not a bad thing. It's not a weak thing. It's a very good thing. Because for years after the Michelle's diagnosis, we we are going busy people, and we get back to the rigors of life, but without recognizing that really and truly our marriage, the friendship, the relationship needed support, and how we deal with grief. And it was in a recent session, that with a very, very good friend, that we were talking about grief and grief attacks, and how grief comes to you, and how do you sense when you are going into one, or your wife is going into one, and how you help each other through it. And it has been a journey. It's revelatory. So I would and will always recommend counseling for men who are going through tough, difficult, gut-wrenching experiences in their marriage. When you love your wife and for some reason you might be angry or bitter, and you know that she's the only one in the world that you care for in this way, and yet still it's as if there is a brick wall between you and her. And it can be that you have a lot of hurt, a lot of regrets, a lot of pain. And one of the funny things, one of the things that cause men to have a lot of pain is as if, because the person with the terminal illness is so, quote unquote, at the center of the universe. So the family, both yours and hers and everybody, friends and everything, tend to center around that person. Yet that's the sick person. And sometimes you wonder, who am I? And a lot of men, because I grappled with that for a while in the early stages, because,
What about you?
what about me?
Yeah.
And it's a difficult place.
Mm-hmm.
It's a difficult place.
Just to let our listeners know, Courtney, that we are speaking with Roger Stewart, just sharing his life story about his wife having breast cancer, and many nuggets there challenging us, encouraging us, empowering us as men. Yes, Courtney.
Yes, I know we're focusing on your wife had cancer, and I mean, you just spoke some words, I'm sure, of inspiration into the lives of many. You faced a triple dilemma: dad, son, wife. As you said, the fears are real, and how you took care of yourself, because you also noted earlier that it is noted that the caregivers most often die and leave the persons who they were giving care over. What would you say to our men who are now facing challenges like these, going through it, after you have told us a bit of how you go about doing it? What do you say to them even further? Because I'm hearing the pain. Actually, I'm seeing it in your face and in your eyes. And knowing that you still declare you have to live, you question God. You're Christian. Your faith has been shaken. What do you say to those men who are listening, Christians, those who don't have a God that they trust in per se, those who may have become bitter against a God? How do you tell them to survive, get past it? navigate the course? You know, tough times.
Well, I'm going to be very frank. Don't try to be anybody else. That's my first
Mm.
advice to you. Don't be anybody else. And especially to Christian men. God has given us hope. And we normally talk about the blessed hope. Yes, we know we will be with him someday. But he has given us two other hopes, that sometimes we tend to forget. He has given us a living hope and a lively hope. And we have to just take each day. Because the truth is that they say that without hope, a person dies within 24 hours. And I'm saying and my word to all of us, and I'm speaking especially to men, have that living hope. It's a living hope. And it's not just that you're living each day, but you have to have a lively hope. It's not dead. It's not a living dead. It's a lively hope that is anchored in that God will take care of you. And I'm saying it to Christian men and non-Christian men who might be listening in, or believers who have been shaken by this. Have a lively hope. Know that God will take care of you. And if and don't just say it or think it. Sometimes you have to look up to your Father and say, Father, you say you will take care of me. And me this a call, me need you to take care of me. I've said it so many times. So many times. So many times. I walk sometimes and I say, Father, give me strength. Just give me strength. I am not perfect. I make mistakes. I make mistakes, a whole heap of mistakes. And sometimes, I stand where I am, and it's not like I don't want to move, but it's as if everywhere around you is like eggshells,
Yes.
and you just don't want to make the wrong move. And so what you do? You just stand there. And sometimes standing here don't help you. It helps you, but it don't help the wife or the family.
Right.
But it is your coping mechanism. And so people around you won't always understand what you're going through. And this is where, if you don't communicate it, they won't know to.
Right.
And one of the things that is so unfortunate, I can talk about my own relationship. There's so many times where it's as if I expect my wife to know, Michelle to know. And is
She's not a mind reader. She's not a mind reader.
yeah. And then it becomes another issue. You understand? But
Of course.
it is a journey, and you have to just take it one day at a time. As I keep saying, if you can get up together one morning, all when you not talk, you get up together and you go back down together. It is the commitment to the relationship. It will work out. Because all of these 30 odd years are made up of days. And I try to whatever I commit to, especially men, whatever you commit to. So say, for instance, you commit to doing something as far as is possible. Try and keep that commitment. So if it's to make a cup of tea, make the cup of tea.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Even if you not drink it, you keep making the cup of tea. Because it's just what it is. And there are some things that you might commit to that you will fall down on, but there are some little ones you do it because it's not just a commitment, because it's a commitment born out of love. And at the base of it, is just love. That's what it is. at the base of it all.
Roger, I think that's a great place. Can you believe that we're out of time? But such a great place to conclude, coming from a place of love, and that's what we have been getting. Of course, we keep praying for you and Michelle as you continue to walk a life of purpose. So thanks again to our producer, Tony K. Bromfield. Thanks to Daniel Downs for doing the technical support work here. And thank you, Roger Stewart, husband of one wife, Michelle, husband facing the challenges of his wife having breast cancer and being free for the last 10 years. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your story. Really a privilege and an honor, Roger, and great to see you after all these years as well.
Can I just say one thing? Permit
Sure.
me? I want Michelle to know that this now grain man of over 30, I've known her more than half of my life. I love you, Michelle. And I want the world to know that. I love you.
Oh.
Blessings, blessings. Good to have you, Roger. No, Michelle is listening as well, and all the other family members. So we want to thank all the listeners, viewers, participants. And remember, you can share, comment on each episode on your YouTube channel. Previous episodes are also available for viewing and notes taking at Love 101 FM Jamaica. And to the women and wives out there battling with breast cancer, we leave you with this quote: never be ashamed of a scar. It simply means you are stronger than whatever tried to hurt you. Everyone has scars, whether you can see them or not. Wear yours with pride. And we also remind our men, you too can suffer from breast cancer. Men do have breast cancer. Kev.
Yes, to the man them that you have lost your woman, whether it's wife and sister and mother, relative. Grieving doesn't make you imperfect, it makes you human. This is the program designed for men with guest word men. And I am your host, Kevin Bailey. Catch you next week, same place, same time.
This was the Mailbox, and it was sponsored by Fosrich Company Limited, your electrical, solar, and lighting people, and brought to you by Love 101, the family station. Next week, Monday. Have a great evening.
We have to run them out when they can do man them day. The Mary Martha, the Miriam them day. So Lord, we cry for the and them day. And I did a good plan with we